Hello, everyone. The sun is shining, the sky is blue. It's 12 noon here in Northern Virginia, and it is a perfect day for a webinar. Welcome to Practical Talent Strategies for Small Businesses in 2025 and beyond. My name is Adam Calley, and I am the founder and principal consultant here at ARC Human Capital. I am broadcasting to you from Vienna, Virginia, to you around the block and around the nation, and will soon be joined by my buddy, Rob Lockhart. But before Rob joins us, I wanted to say we're glad to have you back with us today for session 2, in which we will be discussing valuable strategies that you can employ to modernize your hiring, expand your talent pipeline, and harness AI. Now, we want this to be an interactive session, so please, just like last time, share your comments and your questions right there in the chat box as you think of them. No need to hold them, because as I see them, I'll be getting ready to answer them. Now, I want to be sure that everyone can hear me loud and clear. So if you can hear me, please just type a 1 right into the chat box right now. Just give me a 1 in the chat box. I'm going to see how many people can hear me. Hopefully, loud and clear for everybody. Before we get into the content that brought you here today, I want to give a shout out to my friend and collaborator, Sierra Collins. Sierra is the founder of Sierra Learnership Collaborative, and she is a terrific partner for an HR consulting firm like us because her and her team deliver many things that are a perfect accompaniment for our core HR services, such as individual and group assessments like DISC and emotional intelligence, coaching talented professionals to get their level of performance even higher, conducting team building sessions, and creating customized leadership development training. Now, you see there's a QR code right there on your screen. Please go ahead and scan that. You can learn more about her firm. We are fortunate to have the Sierra Learnership Collaborative as our webinar series title sponsor. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The time has come to introduce the man of the hour with over 20 years of talent acquisition and HR experience and a wide assortment of certifications to his credit. Broadcasting live from just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, ARC Human Capital's head of talent acquisition. Welcome, Rob Lockhart.
Thank you, Adam, for that kind introduction. You always get me with those heartfelt sentiments. So as Adam just shared, my name is Rob Lockhart, and I am the Principal Talent Acquisition Advisor at ARC Human Capital. Being professionals in our space, we have a passion for helping organizations build solid teams with the right skills and abilities, which is why I'm thrilled to be speaking with you today about ways to improve and strengthen your small business talent acquisition and recruiting practices at the end of 2025, so you can have a stronger 2026. In our presentation a few weeks ago, we talked about perceived talent shortages, fast-moving candidates, budget constraints, competing for talent against large businesses, and how AI and technology are currently changing recruiting for small businesses. For our conversation today, we're going to look at the future of small business and engage in a conversation that focuses on steps that can be taken today, regardless of the current volatile talent market, so you can easily move through 2025 and look beyond, where talent strategy will matter more. So as we get settled in here, what are we talking about? Linear paths are out. Jungle gym careers that go up, down, and sideways are what we're going to need to take into greater consideration moving forward. This, along with rising candidate expectations that organizations are transparent and provide both greater opportunities and tools to motivate them about the work that they're performing, is going to take a lot of our attention in the future. This is where I believe small businesses with their person-to-person connections can truly shine. And here's how. If they're armed with talent strategies, small business owners will be able to improve not only their recruitment activities, but also strengthen their retention and workforce agility well into the future. But before we jump into the heart of our conversation, let's take a look at our agenda today, which outlines 4 main conversation topics. First, we will discuss ways small businesses can modernize their talent acquisition activities. Then we'll move into discussing ways to tap into broader talent pools, throw in a few ways to harness AI as an enabler and not a threat in your current hiring practices, and then wrap up our conversation with a review of the talent playbook checklist so you can transition everything that we talk about today back to your world of work. So let's get started, shall we? Our first strategy is for small businesses to modernize their hiring practices. The traditional approach to recruitment, which involves posting a job, waiting for resumes, and conducting weeks of interviews, is no longer practical. The market demands faster, smarter, and more human-centric strategies. This is why small businesses need to upskill and speed up to stand out. What I mean by this is that to be competitive in the talent market moving forward, small businesses will need to be able to speed up their hiring decisions, increasingly consider upskilling or training their employees, and build stronger employer brands without overspending. But first, we need to seriously talk about who you're hiring. Too many small businesses out there hold out for the perfect candidate. In 2025, that is a losing game. Trust me, perfect candidates rarely exist, and even if they do, competitors likely are in the conversation already, sometimes with higher offers available. Instead, small businesses should focus on potential over perfection. And you heard it here first. The key to future talent success is going to be, one, by placing greater focus on hiring high potential candidates rather than perfect ones. The talent sweet spot will be bringing in candidates who may not check every box, but demonstrate the soft skills of adaptability, problem solving, and being a good cultural fit. So what do you think about that, Adam?
Well, Rob, I love that phrase, potential over perfection, because think of what happens while you delay. You could incur more overtime. You have overworked staff getting tired. Tired staff make mistakes. That leads to rework or even injuries. You can have wasted materials. Client neglect is also a potential byproduct of being short staffed because you don't have enough people to do all that needs to be done to meet the client needs while you're waiting for Mr. or Ms. Perfect to come sashaying through your door. Now, we talk a lot about burnout and mental health nowadays. So, what do you think is going to happen while everyone's mental health gradually declines because they're working long periods of extra hours and extra stress? These are the costs that are obvious and not so obvious. And there's one other benefit to not delaying. You get to mold that person the exact way you want them to be. Instead of them showing up already perfect, they come into your company and you shape them to match your needs and your culture. Potential over perfection. I'm going to get it tattooed right on my chest.
Yeah, and here's the cooler part with that. Once your high potential is aboard, you can upskill them, right? Rather than continue to wait for the perfect candidate to come along. That's because upskilling current staff and investing in training is often cheaper than replacing it. For example, instead of waiting months for a marketing hire with every certification under the sun, you can identify a current team member with an interest and upskill them through online courses and mentorship. To put it more bluntly, upskilling can pay off huge in retention, as employees who are supported in their growth are more likely to stay loyal, reducing your turnover costs. Besides, when does it ever hurt to increase the skills of your overall team and then be able to market that? Examples of upskilling can be various, but don't have to be complex. Of course, if they can include things like technical and hard skills, they should also include things like soft skills, such as new managers taking hiring courses on communication or decision making, and could be coupled with formal and informal trainings, such as online learning opportunities like Coursera and Udemy. Organizations could also provide company-sponsored courses where employees can attend certifications, free webinars, or even formal degree programs. Let's also not forget about upskilling elements that may already exist in some businesses, like internal expertise, where an experienced employee can mentor newer colleagues, or where on the job opportunities exist, such as stretch assignments, where employees could volunteer for a project outside of their regular duties to build new skills. Or you could even implement a job rotation method here, where employees spend time in different departments learning new functions and cross train with colleagues. One great example of upskilling that I can share, Adam, is that we had a small accounting firm in Maryland once who identified a receptionist who was interested in helping out in their bookkeeping. By covering the cost of her QuickBooks certification, they filled the internal need, avoided a lengthy external search, and increased her morale. They had complete control over the entire process.
You used the word loyalty, and that is not a word that we hear a lot nowadays between employees and employers. For those of you who attended our first webinar, you might remember we talked about a concept of retention over replacement. And when people see that you're willing to invest in them, then they see the value of staying with you. And as you've already said, upskilling can be done many different ways: in person, online, it can be done mentoring, on job training. Stretch assignments are a big thing I'm a fan of. And while you may say, well, Adam, there's cost to these things. Well, that's true, but think of it as an investment, and you may be able to offset some or perhaps all of those costs because cities, counties, states, maybe even federal grants could be available. Maybe not right now while we're in the middle of a federal government shutdown, but when that mess is over, if you can get a grant, offsets the cost, makes it much easier for you. Apply for them.
That's very true. So moving on here, our second suggestion to supporting the modernization of your hiring efforts involves accelerating your hiring cycles. Unfortunately, every day that you delay making a job offer, candidates are feeling them elsewhere. Small businesses can't afford to drag out their hiring decisions, which is why streamlining your interviews, setting clear timelines with candidates, and cutting organizational bureaucracy is so important. Instead of three separate interviews, for example, maybe come up with a way to combine or use panels or for the or unstructured video interviews. And you definitely want to communicate as effectively as possible, as early as possible with candidates about things like when you're going to make decisions. It definitely builds trust. Finally, empowering hiring managers to make faster decisions about waiting on endless approvals can move things along quite nicely. If you don't believe me, research shows that companies that cut time to hire by even 20% see a measurable uptick in candidate acceptance rates. Because after all, our goal in speeding up our hiring process here is to get candidates to accept their offers more quickly when you get to that phase of the recruitment process.
Rob, I love the way you've talked about speed because you are in a race and the clock is ticking. Because look at it like this: if you think they are a smart, strong, capable candidate, do you really think that you are the only company that they're interviewing with? And do you think that you are the only firm who will recognize their value? You are in a race. The longer you draw out the process, the greater the risk that someone else snatches them away from you, and then you'll be right back in the beginning of the process again. And think about it from their point of view for a minute. Okay. One of the things we do at ARC is we often look at Glassdoor ratings where people can talk about the interview process. The longer you draw out the process, the greater the risk somebody snatches them away. But you can only lie so many times to say, I got to attend a funeral. I got to get my teeth cleaned. I got to go to the doctor. Tell you a story. Long ago, I was interviewing for an HR director job in Washington, D.C. when I was working in Northern Virginia. I had to go through multiple rounds of interviews because it was the director role, and I needed to allow for both travel time to the city and parking and all that mess, and then the interview itself, and then get back home. Because I had multiple interviews, I didn't want my boss to get suspicious. So I put a fake bandage on my arm so it made it look like, oh, they had to draw blood when I was at my doctor's appointment. Don't make it more difficult for them than it needs to be. Be thoughtful, be efficient, and get through your process quickly. Rob said it. I said it. What more do you need to hear?
Well, we do definitely have one more suggestion that I really, really like when we talk about modernizing our talent strategy or talent hiring process moving forward. And I really want to go back to what we discussed in our last webinar, where we talked about big salaries being hard for small businesses to compete on. However, what candidates are telling us day in and day out is that money isn't everything. They actually prefer being treated as humans rather than numbers. To help create and nurture an environment like this, small businesses need to consider creating and leveraging compelling EVP rich job descriptions, which outline what makes your business unique to work for. In the job postings, you want to ensure that you add elements like your culture and where you can highlight teamwork, creativity, and how employee voices are heard. You definitely want to add in things like flexibility. And if you offer remote days or flexible schedules, even if they're limited, even down to a single day, you definitely want to also add in any opportunity for development that a candidate can have, where you're making training, mentorship, or career growth opportunities clear and outlined for them. Finally, you want to succinctly convey your organizational values because candidates are increasingly caring about things like social responsibility, sustainability, and diversity. A great example of a client that I had once where they leveraged their employer value proposition, Adam, was when I worked with a locally owned restaurant in Virginia. They attracted staff by offering predictable schedules and celebrating employees' personal milestones. That's something that the larger chains often can't personalize.
Listening to you reminds me of a time, we're talking about flexibility. I had an HR team, and unfortunately, as many HR teams can relate to, we were part of the payroll process, right? Biweekly payroll every 2 weeks. And it took an entire day of one of my staff members just to chase down these stupid timesheets and check, who used PTO and do they have enough PTO and all these kinds of things. Well, unfortunately, back then, working remotely was very, very limited, let's say. But I was looking for a way to help my team because I figured anything was better than nothing. So what I did is I allowed them to work from home on that day. We did 26 paychecks a year. They split it between them, so they each did 13. They got to work from home 13 days a year. Now you're going to say, Adam, that's once a month. What's the big deal? I'm going to say to you this. I was not in a position to have remote staff at that time. But 13 days of remote work is like working from home for 2.5 weeks. No gas expense, no metro, subway expense, the time you save, the quality of life. And at least I showed my staff, hey, I'm willing to find things that I can do for you. So for those of you who are out there listening and thinking, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Okay, fine. Identifying what you can't do is great. But give me some creativity. Give me some inspiration of things you could do, which demonstrates to your staff you're trying to work with them. If I got to work from home from 2.5 weeks, I'd be like, hey, this is great. Better than nothing. So let's see. Bo asks us, what makes a strong employer value proposition, or as we sometimes call it, EVP? What makes a strong one, Rob?
Yeah, the ability to be able to highlight things like the organization's flexibility, right? That's a big one that candidates are looking for right now. Culture will definitely win out in all of those aspects. Definitely, candidates want to know as much as they can about an organization. They want to know about the people that they're going to be working with. The other thing too that's big on candidates' mind is growth. The opportunity for them to be able to kind of come in, both contribute their skills and abilities, but also to be able to continue to be able to expand themselves. One thing that is not really talked about a whole lot that I think would be a great differentiator is the way that teams are recognized. The ability to be able to kind of see somebody and have that value that I am seen and I am valued as an individual for what I bring to the job is huge, right? That very small little thank you goes a very, very long way. One of the final things that I think really makes a great EVP or employer value proposition is talking about the mission of the organization. This leads to authentic differentiators between organizations And those are always going to be much more valuable to candidates than any perks like free meals or a billiards table in the break room from that perspective. So let's move on to strategy number 2, where we talk about leveraging broader talent pools. When talent seems scarce, the answer isn't always to fish harder in the same pond. Instead, why not think about expanding the pond? This can be easily accomplished by adopting a new mantra for your hiring habits in 2026 that include being more flexible, inclusive, and strategic. Specifically, you can implement flexible schedules and remote options to attract diverse candidates. You can build in partnerships with local trade schools, boot camps, and community colleges to create sustainable early career pipelines, and strategically integrate 1099 contractors and freelancers to fill in your immediate business gaps without long-term overhead. This isn't cheating. It's not turning your back on your internal growth plans. It's being smart about what you're doing. So there's several ways a small business can expand its talent pool. You can include things like looking in your very own backyard, because good people attract other good people, and using internal existing resources is fast and easy. Maybe thinking about, or have you ever thought about, incentivizing current employees to recommend qualified candidates from their personal networks? Or how about promoting internal talent from within, or moving employees between departments? You may even be able to re engage with past employees who already have a history with your company as an excellent source to find talent. In the search industry, we call these folks boomerangs because they went out, but now they're interested in coming right back. My point here is that by going beyond traditional job boards, you can also potentially leverage your own personal online or professional networks on platforms like LinkedIn, or industry specific platforms like a local Slack, Discord, online forum, or even a group to find folks with specialized skills all in the same place. And social media is a gold mine of fantastic ways to expand your talent search. It allows you to both search for talent via hashtags or attract them passively just by making sure that your company profiles are completed and engaging. One thing that many people in the tech age forget is that talent sourcing doesn't have to stop online. There are literal tons of offline and community-based talent sourcing options out there as well, like the good old job fair and conferences, and even university and college programs, co-ops, internships, and apprenticeships, as well as local government programs to support different workforce segments. One final thought about expanding your talent pool is to honestly think about attracting freelancers or gig workers. They give you the flexibility to hire temporary help for specific projects or explore traditionally underutilized talent pools, such as those who have been formerly incarcerated, individuals with disabilities, or those who are seeking experience to develop their skills on the job through apprenticeships.
When you said referrals, that immediately reminded me of a bank that I used to work for. Now, I got to tell you, I do believe all employees are important, but the fact is, not every job has the same impact on the company. So at the bank, we actually varied the amounts we paid for employee referral bonuses according to the impact of the job. For example, we paid a higher bonus for a commercial lender who could generate millions of dollars for the firm than we paid for an administrative staff member. Remember, you want to, as you said, incentivize current staff to act. But, Rob, you also talked about former employees returning to you, or being boomerangs, as you call them. Well, my friend, that reminds me of an article that I read in which they talked about staying in touch with former staff, not only to recruit them, but wait for it, but to pay them referral bonuses also. Yes, you pay them to refer you good staff. They know the culture, the clientele, they may know the team members and the leaders, and they can refer you good qualified people. And if they're still in your industry, they're still in touch, it's a great way for you to spend a fraction of the money paying them a bonus than you would have spent on a recruiter And don't forget all those other expenses we talked about earlier when I discussed potential overperfection. You're avoiding those costs as well. You also mentioned having them use online networks. But I just want to add something to that. You're not necessarily talking about them using their networks, right? I have a big network of HR people, payroll people, accounting people, other consultants. Rather, they will use their networks because an engineer is attending webinars for engineers. Salespeople are going to conferences for salespeople, and they are the ones who would be ambassadors for your firm. And the employer referral bonuses that we discussed earlier actually incentivize them to be conscious of opportunities and intentional about telling others about you. Remember, Rob, earlier we talked about development being important. Paying for membership in professional associations not only gives people a chance to develop, but here's a sneaky little side benefit because it puts them in a position to be ambassadors for you.
I like your thought there, Adam, and extending that out and continuing to kind of allow ripples in the pool from your center point of your organization to really kind of help to carry your message, right? And being able to kind of be able to convey that employer value proposition beyond your own networking there with that. Major bonuses on those pieces. So let's move on to another opportunity here for small businesses to be able to kind of take advantage with extending out their talent pools. And I think I heard some groans here when we just flipped to the slide, and folks saw the words flexible on the screen. But I promise that small businesses don't need to go fully remote to expand their talent pools. They just need to be adaptable. Flexible and adaptable work is able to draw in parents who need schedule control, freelancers who are open to hybrid arrangements, and possibly highly qualified candidates who just happen to live outside of a specific location but are still within a reasonable commuting distance. Even offering 1 or 2 days of remote work can attract candidates who otherwise wouldn't apply. While we're on this topic of flexibility and remote options, let's discuss hybrid schedules, as you may not realize that they can fall into one of 3 of the following categories, which include being driven by team's needs, being driven by employee choice, where the organization set the same core days for employees and allow employees to pick which days that they want to work remotely in the office, or driven by project, where project work groups get to pick and choose how to meet those deadlines.
Well, when you said expand the pond earlier, I was like, that's pretty cool, right? And I've been reading a lot about these big household name companies who are all calling their people back to work in the office. Well, as Tony the Tiger says about Frosted Flakes cereal, that's great. Because if you can accommodate either remote or hybrid employment, well, my dear viewers, you are making yourself a more attractive employer and you won't have to compete on price. So be hybrid, be remote, be attractive.
So another way to leverage our broader talent pool is to tap alternative pipelines. Traditional job boards aren't the only way to find talent, right? There are trade schools and boot camps, and of course, excellent places to source future talent is at local community colleges, and even local and regional workforce development programs lend some leverage. All of these pipelines are especially powerful for entry-level and skill-based roles. Anything additional there, Adam?
Oh, absolutely, my friend. You see, as a veteran myself, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to tap another alternative pipeline, which is veteran and military spouse communities. Now, Rob's, your slide here talks about trade schools, boot camps, apprenticeships. Well, what do you think an enlistment or perhaps an entire first career in the military is? And trust me, when you want to talk about boot camps, I think of boot camp in a whole different way. Now, my service was in the Navy, and we had something that we called CBs, which was short for construction battalions. Their whole job was building and maintaining the shore facilities needed by the fleet. So they got all the knowledge of the trades, carpentry, plumbing, electric, etc. So if you're recruiting in that area, don't forget that pipeline. And remember, beyond just the trades, beyond just apprenticeships, boot camps, the leadership experience, the initiative, these are all valuable skills that you can tap into. And like I said earlier, and like you said earlier, potential over perfection, I will take a veteran who's got the right foundation over almost anybody else any day. Now, we've got a question waiting for us here, my friend. Let's see what we've got. Corrine has asked, does flexibility help even if we can't offer fully remote work? I guess that's what she means.
Yes, most definitely, Kareen. Um, flexibility can include things like adjusted hours, uh, things like predictable schedules, right? And even one remote day really can make the small changes that attract more applicants. And that's the whole goal of even being able to implement flexibility. And remember, we said flexibility and adaptability there. So if, for example, I know that my set schedule is going to be a little bit adjusted there, or that I can adjust my schedule to be able to attend to other things like family emergencies, or being able to attend the kids recital at school. These all are basically work and life enrichment actions, right? When people talk about that work life balance, and people want to be able to kind of do as many different things as they can in both their work and their home lives. With that, so yeah, there's plenty of things that you can do to be able to kind of offer that.
Absolutely. And let's all remember, while we are having a whole conversation about being flexible and being adaptable from the organization's point of view, it is give and take, right? You can regularly leave at 5 o'clock. That's not a problem. But sometimes I'm going to need you to stay to 6. And if you want to think I'm a jerk, well, go ahead and think I'm a jerk. But then if you really think I'm a jerk because I ask you to stay to 6, 2, 3 times a year, then maybe you're the one with the problem. What am I saying? Give and take. It's not all just give. We want to not just take, but we also not want to just give. Balance.
Balance. Yeah, that's what we're talking about there. And it doesn't have to be big movements either. It can be small little incremental things, right? Those couple of hours make a big difference to somebody. All right, so let's move on to our next suggestion here, which is incorporating contract and gig workers. Someone once told me that using contract or gig workers was cheating. Sorry, was creating a cheating element here. But if you sprinkle in a few here and there as part of your talent strategy, you can be more than just stopgaps. They can be leveraged as strategic assets in your talent strategy as well. For example, if you need a social media campaign, a marketing freelancer can develop it in weeks. That's because contractors reduce overhead without long-term payroll obligations and provide project-based flexibility, which can help you scale up or scale down quickly in response to a client demand. The key is to use gig talent strategically, not haphazardly or in an over-reliant manner, which can destabilize core operations. So, Adam, your thoughts on that?
Rob, I used to deliver an entire training session on this topic, so I got a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to just try to stay narrow for sake of this. Just remember, when you're using those gig workers, another benefit that you may not think of is the fact that your staff is learning from them as they collaborate on the projects. And as the gig worker works with you, they get to know your team, they get to know your culture, etc. It may be possible to entice them to join you as a traditional full-time W-2 employee. Now, a lot of people love being consultants. They love the flexibility, and so that's not always possible. But sometimes, depending again on your organization, it looks to me like you might be able to reel them in. And hey, what's not to love about that? Because then the transition to being a W-2 is very easy because they've already been working with the team. Oh, Corinne has another question for us. How do we use freelancers without becoming dependent on them? Ah, that's a good one. Without being dependent on them. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, when I think freelancers, I really do think about project work, right? And that is a smaller scope, in the course of the work that you need completed. And really, what I would do is I would kind of say, to not be able to overuse, right? You want to be able to kind of review your return on that investment, and do it on a periodic basis, either monthly or quarterly. And that's really going to kind of help you to dictate whether or not you need those things that this project based kind of work is delivering to you on a more annualized scale. And if it does become something that you need more of these skills more often, then I would definitely kind of be able to say, yeah, this sounds like maybe we kind of transition this from, a freelance or 1099 kind of situation over into a full-time W-2 kind of role that we do then go out and hire for to bring into our organization. It's answering the need for you and being able to kind of help you to kind of make that next step moving forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Rob. So, what do you got up your sleeve here for the third and final strategy?
Yeah. So, final strategy here, strategy number 3 is talking about ways that we can harness artificial intelligence as an enabler and not a threat. In this thought, basically, what we want to do is so AI, right, today is dominating our headlines, especially in the recruiting and talent acquisition space, which often sparks fear. But for small businesses, AI isn't about replacing people; it's about enhancing efficiency and empowering growth. Through AI, organizations can leverage the capabilities of one and make it look like many. So that's because change is always on these days. And by harnessing AI, small businesses can find greater success and solve difficult problems that improve not only their lives, but the lives of their customers. So, according to Deloitte, in their 2025 Global Human Talent Capital Trend report and survey, 60% of employees today reported that they expect organizations to provide the tools and opportunities to increase their motivation to perform their work. Being able to kind of take this a step further and using AI as an enabler, what better way is there for small businesses to supply an opportunity or a tool than to leverage AI in their hiring and not allow it to become a threat? It can help us to recruit smarter, not harder. As an enabler, it can help by automating administrative hiring tasks while also improving speed and efficiency, which is why we should support staff in developing their AI fluency and include skill improvements like AI prompt engineering and generative content creation. If we incorporate the human element into our AI usage, it can help us identify and mitigate the risk of algorithmic bias. Yes, that's a big word, but it's a reality. And also ensure that we have fair and equitable hiring practices there, Adam.
The trick is to not over trust these systems, and I know we're going to talk more about that in a little while. But basically, you're giving your team more resources, you're giving them better resources. But remember, there does need to be an element of patience here, right? I mean, any professional athlete who does what they do for a living still practices. They don't just show up on game day and compete. There's a whole week leading up to it, right? So the same is going to be true with your team mastering the AI, and we'll talk more about that shortly.
Yeah. And specifically when we're talking about automating, right, in recruiting, we've been able to kind of take a look at how a flow chart, such as you see here on the screen, which outlines the typical recruiting workflow, where we go from a resume to a screening stage to scheduling, and then of course interview prep. Believe it or not, AI can help us progress in each of these stages. Walking through this, the best options for AI and resume review are general purpose AI, where free or low cost applicant tracking systems or specialized AI screening tools are with their free tiers allow the ability for providing tools to do resume review, which include your general kind of ChatGPT or Gemini, where general AI chatbots can review resumes for relevance, skill match, and gaps. Recruity, which may be a new introduced platform for many folks here today, which basically is an all-in-one recruiting solution that offers a completely free plan. Zoho Recruit, which offers a forever free plan that supports one recruiter and one job opening at a time. And then Breezy HR, which really has come onto the scene recently, but also provides a free plan that includes resume parsing and a branded career site too. AI and candidate screening, when we get to that stage, basically the tools here, and there are a number of tools which allow for free tier applicant tracking with built-in social media features and online survey or scheduling. Several software providers offers free or freemium versions, which are kind of like half free, half paid at a lower cost, of their ATS platforms that are well suited for small business to use. Again, Zoho Recruit is out there, which is ideal for very small operations and include tools for managing candidates, scheduling interviews, and posting free to free job boards. Mighty Recruiter provides a completely free all-in-one platform with unlimited users and candidates. And then Breezy HR with a free plan provides unlimited candidates and branded career sites with automatic distribution to over 50 job boards. This is a good option for businesses that want a polished professional presence at no cost. And then WellFound, which is formerly AngelList Talent, is a platform for free startups hiring tech talent. It offers dedicated ATS and large pool of candidates specifically interested in startup jobs. When we get to the AI and scheduling element here, there are a number of free candidate scheduling tools for small businesses, which can include You Can Book Me, Calendly, Pick Time, and Free Busy. All right, Adam, what are your thoughts about all of these AI elements?
Well, there's no doubt that AI scheduling, this is the smartest and easiest thing that you can do. Okay, I spent $120 to get a subscription to Calendly, and I easily saved myself at least $120 worth of aggravation and time within the first month, maybe even the first few weeks. So if you aren't doing at least this, you are really letting the bus pass you by. Now, while we're talking about scheduling, everyone, this reminds me of a story that Rob actually told me earlier this year. We were recruiting for some medical related positions for a collection of clinics up in Maryland. And they were putting people onto Rob's calendar. Now, when I say they, what do I mean? I don't mean like somebody saw an ad, said, oh, I'm interested, and booked. No. These people had their own AI, and that AI was booking them appointments. So Rob would ask a very typical interview question. So what interests you about our company or this position? And they would say, well, I don't really know much about it. I was scheduled by my AI. And I said to Rob, are you kidding me? Like they were really that honest? Holy cow. But yes, so you may get candidates and you think they're interested in your job, but in reality, they just want a job and they happen to be on your schedule. So AI has changed and continues to change how the game is played, my friends. Don't let it pass you by.
Yeah, and it continues to be able to kind of change the game as we continue to kind of move forward here. I get a lot of questions from owners basically about, hey, I don't even know what to ask, when I get into an interview. And AI can help small businesses with several free or low cost AI interview prep tools to help them structure their interview processes, including things like Google Interview Warmup, which is a free AI powered tool that helps users practice answering common questions for different roles. So you can kind of reverse engineer that, right? And be able to put some things in place that you want to align or that you want on your team here. Another one is using AI chatbots, which are basically for small businesses can generate interview questions and example answers by inputting a job description into a general AI chatbot like ChatGPT or Google Gemini. This helps hiring managers to create structured interview guides. So You don't even have to be able to kind of sit down and kind of be able to even spell out those things. You just take the job description, drop it right on in, and the system will automatically help you with that. One more option here is Pramp. This platform offers free peer-to-peer mock interviews, mainly for technical roles, which allow you to kind of be able to see things from multiple different perspectives, both from the hiring manager's perspective as well as for other professionals. Glassdoor and Ambition Box, these sites have databases of real interview questions and experiences from past candidates. And LinkedIn also has an interview prep tool, which provides free resources and an interview prep tool with a common interview question database, along with expert video tips. Finally, we don't want to be able to miss out on any of the free HR resources by organizations like SHRM or the Department of Labor, which offer free guides, articles, and sample interview questions to help businesses develop their best practices. That's a pretty long list there, Adam, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's no doubt that smart people are mastering the skill of interviewing, right? It's no longer just, oh, I'm coming to tell you about where I've worked, what I've done, my education, etc. I am mastering the actual skill of interviewing, which means if you are not mastering the skill of interviewing, if you're just saying, oh, let the managers talk to candidates and they'll see how it goes and their gut will tell them who to hire. Yeah, we talked about that in our first webinar. And the fact is, the gut don't work. You could be at a disadvantage if they're using it and you aren't.
Yeah, that's a great segue kind of into our next thought here, which is small businesses being able to kind of help to build team AI fluency. This can be done by providing hands on training, creating a supportive culture for experimentation, and establishing clear guidelines for AI use. Focus on practical skills like understanding what AI is, how to use specific tools, and how to apply it to their daily work, while also integrating continuous learning and ongoing governance to ensure responsible and effective adoption. Here is actually kind of big, which leads us right to the ability for us to be able to provide a cautionary tale of sorts here, where we guard against our biases. And small businesses can guard against that by auditing their systems, using diverse training data, and ensuring that human oversight is always in the conversation. It's also critical to train employees on AI fairness, maintaining transparency in their AI usage with candidates, and being aware of potential proxy factors like sourcing from only specific zip codes, which it can introduce unintended social economic biases. You regularly want to audit your AI systems for fairness and monitor them for any emerging biases over after you go ahead and deploy. You can ensure that your AI training data is representative of your real world client base and include a variety of perspectives to avoid unfair treatment based on factors like race, gender, or age. You also want to educate your employees on the risk of AI biases and provide them with knowledge to identify and mitigate in their daily work. So we don't really want to rely solely on our AI for critical decisions, especially those impacting employment or fundamental rights. We want to maintain a talent process that humans review, understand, and can override AI recommendations. We also want to be transparent about our AI practices with candidates and strive for easily explainable AI systems where possible. Finally, we want to control our historical data and watch for seemingly unrelated factors that can correlate with sensitive demographic data and unintentionally introduce bias into our hiring. So now that we've talked about this last step, it's possibly time for us to take another look at some of our audience questions surrounding AI, Adam. Anything out there of interest?
Well, let's see here. Is anything popping up? Nancy asks, how do we help employees feel confident in using AI?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and it's really it really kind of comes down to letting them use and utilize the AI. The more that they're using it, the more comfortable they're going to become with it. So starting with something small, maybe like, having them use it to kind of create like an email, if you will. I'm also thinking about maybe, providing like the AI 101 really, in a type of training there where you can also be able to kind of assign maybe like an AI champion on your team, somebody who kind of is over that, who's kind of excited about AI really, and wants to be able to kind of use and utilize that. It gives other employees the ability to be able to kind of have that one person to be able to go to and maybe be able to, again, human to human, bounce ideas off of, as ways to continue to be able to further leverage AI in their day-to-day use.
I'll add something to that. Airline pilots don't just hop in a 767 and in the cockpit away they go, right? There's ground school, simulators, they fly single engine, they small jets, right? They build capability gradually. So expect the same thing to happen to your people regarding their AI, but it only happens if you give them the resources and provide the support and encouragement, as you've said. So I'm going to give you a quick, funny example, recent experience that I had with ChatGPT. Okay. It's November 6th. Well, we just had Halloween. So last month, I said to ChatGPT, I want to do a Halloween scene with some pumpkins with the ARC Human Capital logos, because I figured I'd use that in my social media. And to me, I felt like this is going to be simple. Yeah, right. It took me forever. Okay. And I don't want to spend more time on pumpkins and Halloween than is calls for. But remember this, it is called machine learning for a reason. You can generate great results. I've seen some really cool things and smart things and time saving things that were done via AI, but you only get great results when you give it great guidance. We might touch on that a little bit more before you're done, but some thoughts to wrap up that part.
Yeah, that's a great insight there, Adam, and an awesome example there. So let's kind of transition now. Of course, moving into the ability to be able to kind of have you be able to take all of the information here today that we've been able to kind of share with you and be able to transition it back to your office and your world of work. As a parting gift, this is actually something that we are going to give you today. It is called the Talent Playbook Checklist. And it's the 2025 edition, basically, because we expect for future years, further editions to be able to kind of come out here. But the checklist is designed to provide some prompts for you to transfer, again, the knowledge, right, of the things that we've discussed here today, and then be able to implement them. So on the training playbook checklist, you'll notice that each of our talent strategy initiatives and potential actions that you could implement in anticipation of 2026 are here. Also notice that you don't have to go right down the list and do each suggestion in an orderly fashion. You can jump around here and being able to kind of focus on things. Being able to kind of jump into upskilling rather than waiting, or maybe jumping over to enriching your employer value proposition, or maybe even just going directly into using AI and enhancing, your overall talent process here. To get your very own copy of the Talent Playbook Checklist, of course, you just need to send either Adam or I an email with Talent Playbook Checklist in the subject line, and we'll send you this nice parting gift. Our emails are just our first names at archumancapital.com. All right, we're almost done, Adam. Are there any other questions out there in the queue that we should address before we wrap up?
Hold on. Here I see it now. Be a great resource for developing interview questions. Just be very specific. Aha, right. So, we are not experts in everything. Whether you're an owner, whether you're an HR person, whoever is attending today, you want to ask the right questions so you get the right answers. Even your hiring managers, they may know their field, but they don't always know what to ask to ascertain if somebody else knows their field. Use the wisdom of America. Use the wisdom of the world. Tap into ChatGPT. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, great. So, Rob, why don't you move us on? We're getting close to the end of our time.
Sure. So let's go ahead and wrap up here our conversation. We have discussed three solid talent strategies that small businesses can start to implement now. They are modernizing your hiring, leveraging larger talent pools, and using AI as an enabler. We hope that you've enjoyed your time today. I'll now turn this back over to Adam to close out our discussion. Adam?
Well, thank you very much for taking your valuable time and spending it with us. And if you're watching this on recording, we thank you for taking your time whenever you took it. But I want you to just know a little bit about Arc Human Capital before we say farewell. We do everything. When it comes to HR, we do it A to Z. Some of the examples: HR strategy. We help with merger and acquisition support, both buy and sell side. We've talked a lot about change today. Change management is in our wheelhouse. Handbooks. You got to have a handbook. Could be a short one, could be a long one, but you got to have something, and we will work collaboratively with you to develop what you need, not just what the cookie cutters say you need. Obviously, we do recruiting because we've got our head of recruiting who's been talking to you for the last 60 minutes. We also do temporary or interim HR support. Perhaps somebody's on a leave of absence or you're working to hire the next person. We do payroll processing and anything and everything under the umbrella of employee relations. And we do so much more. So if you'd like to know about what we can do, a simple click on that QR code will take you to our website, and you will know anything and everything you want to know about us and our human capital. You'll even learn about my two cats and Rob's fish. So when I say we've got it all there, we've got it all there. In case you are thinking, well, this was a great session, but I didn't see session 1, or perhaps you're thinking, well, I want to relive this because it was so great. Maybe you missed a point. Maybe you want to share this with a colleague. Guess what? It's being recorded, as was session 1, and they are both available to you on the Arc Human Capital YouTube page. So how do you get to the Arc Human Capital YouTube page, you may ask? Well, of course, you could just search it, or next slide, please. There you go. This video will be posted within the next day or so, and the recording for session 1 is already there waiting for you. So you can either click the QR code or, as I said, just search up Arc Human Capital on YouTube. Everybody, thank you so much for being with us today. Rob and I had a great time, and we wish you a successful end to 2025 and a strong beginning to 2026. Bye-bye, everybody.